I really feel sorry when I see footages that died Ukrainian military. And it's terrible for civilians live in such moment. It's a common feeling here in Russia. Most of the people don't say like, yes, go Russia, get them. It's not the point. The point is, we have no choice. It may sound even ridiculous, I understand. The most of people who watching this already press dislike and go out. Those who remains, I beg you to listen. It's just another point of view. I shall recall the story in short, so I will be able to be understood. I'll try to show as much direct speech and footages as I can, so you will see it's not just my guessing. It will be typical Russian propaganda, as you will say at first, and deeper things at end. The Maidan protest of 2014 was not only about European choice. A social group which wanted to get power sounded its ideology in its slogans. It's all about hatred towards Russia and Soviet past. And it started a decade before Euromaidan. Here we see one of the ideologists and party leader in front of veterans of the Western Ukraine, who fought against Soviet government.
They trained and fought. The Russians fought with Germans, fought with Jews, and other filth, which wanted to take our Ukrainian power.
This exact ideology was the common feeling of the protest. Not for all, but for the most active part of the protest. Proverbial nationalists. A fruitage of Russian propaganda, as everybody knows. So, who are the heroes and who are the enemies? The heroes are Western Ukraine troops of the Second World War, and the enemy is Russia. That's the reason Ukraine split into two in 2014. Because for the Eastern Ukraine, Russia and Soviet past, a victory in the World War were valuables. And it's not just my opinion. It's proven by Ukrainian sociological surveys of that time. Far not all Ukraine was happy with Euromaidan. After a new Kiev government came, the slogan became an unofficial motto of Ukraine, and in a short version everybody started to use it. Nationalistic ideology becomes partially common in politics and society. Slogan and slogan, you would say. And you are right. It's just an external sign of something inside society. Deeds are important, not words. So, after that social group came to power, Eastern Ukraine starts their own protests. They did the same that Euromaidan did. And the protest was partially destroyed. But not for Donetsk and Lugansk. They did decisive things which other regions didn't. Capture of the administrative buildings and armories, the same as Euromaidan did as well. And that is the moment anti-terrorist operation started. A new Maidan government, which claimed Yanukovych a brutal dictator, used disparate force to repress the protesters. But of course it's pro-Russian protest, so human rights it's not so important. For the Western world and media inside Ukraine, it wasn't a civil war. It was a Russian aggression.
I take with me the passport and military ID of Russian soldiers, Russian officers who were come to us and leave it together with that. This is the best evidence for the aggression and for the presence of Russian troops.
And that pro-Russian protest on eastern Ukraine was hoping for such aggression, actually.
We'll announce the referendum on Donetsk region status. That's definitely. It's the position, which I have no concessions and trade-offs about. And there will be written. So, the first, does Donetsk region stay as a part of Ukraine? You are right. But this option will be. There are people who think so. They should have the right to tick a box. Or Donetsk region should be a confederacy, as part of Ukraine. Or Donetsk region should become completely independent. Completely independent state, Donetsk Republic as example. Or Donetsk region is a part of Russian Federation. But it depends on Russia as well. Would they have enough will? I think they would.
And now the key thing. Why Russia didn't invade Ukraine at that time? It was the weakest time of Ukraine. You have a legitimate Ukrainian president on your side, Yanukovych. Ukraine is in the most confused mood, and the world society is not so hatred towards Russia as now. Do whatever you want if you are a crazy dictator who are hungry for new territories. The answer is Putin wanted to keep a good relationship with the West. Crimea was the most legitimate place to be a Russian territory, because its legally elected deputies of the autonomy voted for it. And it's the most important place strategically, the only way for Russia to control Black Sea, and Crimean people wanted it as well. Putin understands that the world will be disappointed, and it's a really controversial thing to do. But he hopes it will be cured with time, and Russian interests would also care someone more. Putin in person called pro-Russian protests to move the referendum date and to start dialogue with Kiev. At that moment he hoped the peace negotiation would lead Ukraine to peace.
We believe that the most important is to establish the direct dialogue. Direct, full-fledged dialogue between Kiev and Eastern Ukraine representatives.
I wouldn't say Russia didn't intervene in the civil war. It's given the republics weapons, and at August 2014, Russia entered Ukraine with a limited military contingent to help republics to resist. That operation ended with the peace agreement with Poroshenko. Actually, Russia forced Poroshenko to sign it. Is it bad? How you think? To help resist people on your border who desperately calls you to help, who speak with you in one language and share with you the same valuables. The US and Europe did the same a lot with territories far away from them. And it's not good, as well as for US and Europe, as well as for Russia. It's a destabilizing thing for the world. If every country would support territories which would ask that support, it will be a big war mess. But in case of Russia, it was the consequence of unprecedented interference in the affairs of Ukraine in 2014 by the US and Europe, which they would never allow with their own countries. And even with that, Russia paid a lot for it, unlike US and Europe. And Russia worked hard to make peace after. The peace agreement, was it a bad idea? It's about saving DPR and LPR as a part of Ukraine, but as a federation, to be like a state of the US as example, with some federal laws and state laws as well. Or would it be good to just give Ukraine to capture that territory? You know, Ukraine was suppressing the protest on the eastern Ukraine pretty brutally. If you hate everything about Russia and you don't care, so sure, it's good. If you care about people's rights and justice, it's not good. Did Ukraine something to implement the agreements? No, not even a law for a federation. Instead, Ukraine tells all the world that it's fighting with Russia and asks for weapons and money. And now Russia really came, and what it all was about. The West helped Ukraine to kill Ukrainians. All the political side in Ukraine who have an opinion to support the agreement were repressed for all these years. All opposition channels were blocked. The main leader of the opposition at home arrest.
We've done and continue to work so on these channels. You will see only the television, test, card, and on the internet, YouTube in particular, they will get a lifelong ban.
War against Russia became an ideology of Ukraine, and there was no place for other opinion. That's the reason why Ukraine officially stated that the peace agreement is not an option, because it will provoke protest inside Ukraine. Of course it will provoke. Ukraine created this mood with the help of the Western media, and lonely voices in Ukraine calling for peace are not being heard.
I think that we have a plan which recognized by UN, recognized by all the world society, by all our supporters. So, let's start at least with that. We will start to implement the Minsk agreements. Let's get into the plan and those promises we've made. It's not easy, and I agree. But if we'd for all these 8 years, we wouldn't make a political, you know, some were benefiting from the war, they got money and publicity, others got ratings on it. Still others were ready to fight.
You say it on the background of Medvedchuk at home arrest, who made money on that. Have a little conscience in front of Ukrainian society.
I didn't interrupt you.
And I will interrupt you.
I want to finish.
The collaborators have no gender, and the collaborators have no respect as well. And I ask you, Savik, every airtime, when you invite the fifth column. People vote for them, because you let them be here.
Why is it so? Because of that social group which came to power. Because of their ideology which became widespread. And nationalists are Russian propaganda footage now with weapons in their hands. Russian propaganda is a real thing, as well as propaganda of any of the Western countries. But it has some truth. So the civil war became frozen forever, with shelling every day, which also nobody cared, because it's, you know, something Russian. And now, the most important thing. All these years, Ukraine was preparing to be a part of NATO, and made a lot to meet the standards. Ukraine desperately begged NATO to take it, and NATO was very conciliatory about it. And when Russia calls NATO to give guarantees to avoid it, it got ignored. Like it's not a today's question, but we will see. So how it would all ended up? Someday something is going to happen.
Ми маємо розвиватися, тренуватися і готуватися, в тому числі до наступальних дій, щоб бути готовим для того, щоб своїм шляхом звільнити нашу окуповану територію. Але це питання часу, підготовки, ну і відповідної грошей.
Russia will continue to get sanctions and hate from the West because of aggression towards Ukraine. And the Western media will desperately help Ukraine with creating a pretty face for it. And it's just a matter of time when NATO will come to Ukraine, where DPR, LPR and Crimea are recognized by NATO as a part of Ukraine. And then what? With such a Kiev government? A world war? What should Russia do? Just to go into republics and help them to protect the border? So it would not change a lot. It would mean the same accusation of aggression towards Ukraine, with renewed vigor and new sanctions, until we get all we got now anyway. Ukraine should be demilitarized to stop all this growing confrontation between Russia and the West. Because Ukraine's government is not a girl with a pretty face. It's a completely nuts social group who created a delusional picture of the conflict with the help of the Western media. It's the only thing can prevent the world war. If it's not too late already. You know, it's crazy. Right now, Russian citizens, me as well, will pay a lot for the Western mistake, which supported this Kiev government, fulfilled with hatred and selfishness, which was closing eyes for years, while thousands of people of eastern Ukraine are dying, on the road to a world war. Now, Russia guilty one in all this. If you disagree with something, I would love to discuss it with you. I respect freedom of speech.